right, super excited. We've been waiting a long time for this one. Dr. Shefali Christopher, she is a researcher at Elon University on faculty there, and most recently over the summer was part of the US Paralympic team supporting Paralympic Triathlon. Dr. Christopher and I, we've been trying to connect. I must say like the better part of like 7 or 8 months, but she's super busy publishing. She's also a mom of 2. Our kids are about the same age, so we've been chatting about that. But wanted to bring Shefali on to talk about her research with postpartum runners. So thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm sorry it's taken so long. I actually was, when COVID hit, decided that my PhD had to be finished. So a good part of the first half of this year was just getting through all the data and getting it ready to publish. And then, recovering from that, whatever never didn't get done, because I was like in that zone, and then going to Tokyo and then recovering from that, getting whatever didn't get done. So, and then going into teaching. So I'm really sorry for our.
Not at all. It was worth the wait. It was worth the wait.
I hope so.
All right. So
I'm going to delete this podcast, but actually wasn't worth the wait.
Right. I'm like, sorry.
So,
all right. So in 60 seconds, tell me about the last 2 years.
yeah. So, when I decided to do a PhD, I wanted to really look into postpartum mom runners because my clinical practice, that's what I saw a lot of runners and I saw a lot of postpartum women. And actually, surprisingly, they came to me like 2-3 years after. So versus like right after. And they were just a wreck. They had maybe run too much, too fast, or done just too much. And so I wanted to really explore that since there was no literature, even 5 years ago, just a couple of studies out there. And so I decided that let's explore this path. And so my research focus has been trying to figure out the risk factors for running-related injury in postpartum runners, and a couple of different papers that have led us to this. We started with some systematic reviews of just what are risk factors in runners, first-time risk factors for lumbopelvic pain postpartum, not even in runners, just trying to get more information. Moved into a Delphi study where we asked the experts what they were seeing, and then we used that information to design some surveys. And so we've got one paper out there on risk factors that we identified, and we have a lot more data that we collected at the time on pain and different mileage and running related factors that I'm going to try and sort through now when I take a deep breath and get that out there as well. So.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you think kind of surprised you the most? I mean, you're a mom yourself, you were treating in the clinic, and as you kind of dove into these different areas, what kind of surprised you?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that surprised me is I was so biased. I thought every postpartum mom needed, had injuries and needed PT. But as I'm like surveying and learning about the research, I think a lot of people are going back to running with no issues and no problem. Yeah. That's a really huge piece where, us clinicians are biased because all we see are people coming in with pain, with injuries, all of that. But there is a group that's doing it fine. And so what are the secrets? What is the special sauce that's taking them running? And that's kind of been one of the most surprising things because I wasn't expecting this large group of runners having successful re-entry or initiation into running postpartum.
Well, I'll be interested to see too. And I mean, I feel like you kind of came into the research aspect at such a unique time. I mean, the 2019 UK guidelines came out. We've got a pandemic where people weren't going to the gym or doing the things that they normally do, but going out your front door or hopping on a treadmill might be the easiest, safest thing to do. Like, and we also have all these Olympic moms that are killing it out there. I think it's such a unique time to see as more moms start to do this, are we going to see more women that are doing just fine? Or are we going to see, kind of things that your research might benefit? I'm curious to see kind of how this all plays out a little bit.
Yeah. And, I think you hit on something, that the Olympic moms thing, right? They're like really intelligent athletes.
Yes.
I say that like I'm not like that, right? I'm dying to run. I'll go run, even though it's been a crappy day. I'm stressed. I have no sleep. I'm totally fatigued. But the Olympic moms are smart. They like are watching these things, and they're
Right.
doing well, and they're doing a hard run on a good day, and maybe if they have a lot of stress and fatigue, they're maybe backing off on their training. So I think like we're going to see a lot of data come out as we have these moms going back to sports because they're collecting that data as well.
And that's one of the things that you looked at, right? Was what are these things, how does sleep play into it, fatigue, all that kind of stuff. I don't know that. I think it's one of those things that as moms, we just kind of understand we're tired, but may not necessarily connect with things that might eventually end up in like red S or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's that athlete mentality, right? Like no pain, no gain. I'm going to show up for the workout, even if I'm not ready to. And our bodies are just different. They don't respond. Like, you had a hard night of drinking and you could get through your college workout and the coach didn't know. But now, you don't sleep and your body is still, recovering from a huge life-changing injury like childbirth.
Right.
It's important to pay attention to some of those signals. And I guess we don't recover as quickly as we did when we were collegiate athletes. And so I think these factors may actually be a really important thing to look at. And with all this amazing wearable technology, I feel like it's on all our fingertips.
Yes.
We have access to it. And even the smallest, like a Fitbit, and just looking at your heart rate changes may be enough to decide like, oh, today it's like my resting heart rate is really high. Maybe I do a walk instead of the speed work.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny you say that. I got a Whoop probably, I've had mine maybe almost 2 years. I'm not sure how long. And it's funny. I talk to people and like, oh, I'll have mine for like 6 months and then I don't need it anymore. And I'm like, my Whoop reminds me that I'm not insane.
Right.
If I feel like poo, the numbers say that, yes, you should feel this way because something is not right. So it's my daily reminder that I have not lost it.
And it also is your daily reminder on the days where you're like, am I just faking it? Like, okay, I am rested. Right. I can push it. And I'm just feeling, maybe a little lethargic because I sat too much during the morning. So yeah, I think there's definitely some weight in looking at some of those numbers in a not trying to be insane way, right? Like,
yes, exactly.
We have to look at the numbers, but not be too obsessed with them.
Well, and I think that brings up another point too, is like when we're looking at postpartum runners, we have our pros that we've seen. And we also have the people that are faster than the average mom. And maybe they train for races, but they're not like sponsored or anything like that. And then we have the middle of the road that maybe, they do want to race. And then we have the others that are like, I just need to get out the door so no one dies.
Right.
So, I mean, and there's such a different output that's expected in all of that. But then I think you can have such changing mindsets in there too, is you can have the, I'm trying not to go insane, but I still have athlete mindset. Or you can have, I'm going out and I'm going to do some races, but I'm being really smart about it. Like, I think you can have such a mix up of things in there that if you don't kind of check all those parts and pieces and understand what you're working with, it can get ugly quickly, or it can do just fine.
Absolutely. And, I have a chart in a notebook that says, okay, if you're feeling this, do these workouts. So like, there's no excuse where I'm sitting there like, what's the word? Like frozen by my own, anxiety of like what to do. I just open the book. And I'm like, all right, here's where I am. And these are the workouts that I should do versus not. And so I think like having tips like that are going to be really important to put together with all the other stuff coming out.
Yep. No, I do that too with clients. So I'm like, all right, red, yellow, green day.
Yep.
And then you need to know exactly, like, I don't know if you've ever read Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic about like sandwiching things. I'm like, you don't need to think anymore. You just, know what day it is. You know where to go. You don't think.
I actually went to college with James Clear. So he's a good friend.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fangirl. That's awesome.
Well, we can work something out, Carrie.
Okay. All right. I didn't even know this.
Yeah. He's the, He's the godfather to my nephew as well. So like very close. Yeah. So
Okay, all right, cool. Well, no wonder you read the book. That's awesome. No,
yeah.
I use that. I use that so much with myself and with clients, because I do think that the less that we have, especially of moms, especially first time when you're trying to navigate that stuff, holy cow.
Yeah.
That's like 99% of the battle. So
Right. And the burden, right? You already have all these things to worry about.
I got enough mom guilt. I don't need more. All right.
So
So knowing what you know, I'm going to stop fangirling here. Where do you think we have the potential to affect postpartum care the most? Like looking forward, you're like, okay, this is where I think we can make the biggest change.
yeah, I think that reaching the postpartum moms early,
Yeah.
and providing them with easy, what's the word? Absorbable pieces of information.
Yep.
That they can maybe sit down and, just a few minutes, get some good chunks of information, and then, giving them resources that they can use because of healthcare costs. It's not everyone can go to a pelvic health provider.
Yep.
Not everyone can go to any healthcare provider. So what can we give them in terms of screening? What can we give in terms of flow sheets, red, yellow, green days?
Yep.
And so I think rehabbing appropriately and giving our postpartum moms resources to rehab appropriately, and when to know, how to navigate that is going to be the biggest piece here. Just like our study showed sleep, like let's just take that small chunk.
Yes.
If we had a little flow sheet that says, okay, if you've got, what's your average sleep that right? This study showed 6.8 hours was the risk factor, but maybe you're an 8-hour a night person. So maybe that's your threshold. So if you're less than 8, you woke up 6 times to nurse and didn't fall asleep the second time and were lying awake, then go down this flow chart where, okay, you're going to do maybe some walk runs. But if you have any symptoms, you go down this way. So that's my brain thinks in flow sheets, but I think that's the most absorbable information for a mom. And if we can give it to them early and help a successful reentry into sports and movement and exercise, that's going to be the most useful information, because at the end of the day, we want them moving. We want them back exercising to fight postpartum depression, to get a grab of their mental health, to grab, for the good effects of weight loss that they want, all of that. I think those digestible, that's the word I was looking for, those digestible pieces of information that they can read, understand, and use are going to be very important. And there's a lot of information out there, but there's so much conflicting information. There's so many social media posts that you just shudder when you see. So I think, I think we just need, so what the research needs to do is back some of these good digestible piece of information so that they're evidence-based recommendations. But that's what we need the most, to reach them early with good evidence-based information.
You hit on so many good things. Like the first thing I was thinking of was physios in general. I feel like so many times we're like, well, they have to walk out with a new exercise or a new this or new that. But when you have a mom that comes in, they've been having latching issues and nobody's sleeping and their toddler has a cold and, the dog's vomiting or whatever it is. And you're like, all right, well, what are we going to do today? I'm like, we need to figure out how to get you sleep. But a physio doesn't feel like that's their wheelhouse. I'm like, no, that's exactly your wheelhouse. It's okay. That don't feel like you're asking permission to do that. Like you're getting them set up. And I think that's a mindset shift in our profession. The other thing I was thinking, you brought up social media. I think it's a blessing and a curse in so many different ways. Obviously, we've been able to access so many more people. I'm from a rural area myself. It was 70 miles to the largest health system, 30 miles to the grocery store. Like, assuming there's broadband, that's a whole nother conversation, but like having access to information. And I think pelvic PTs have been really, I think, at the forefront as far as social media, TikTok, Instagram. But to your point, there's some information out there that just ain't right.
Right. And so,
how do we not police, but how do we vet? How do we help moms vet information then?
Yeah, I think the first thing I look for is if someone's posting something, where did they get that information from? Like,
Yeah.
what's their resource? And I don't even, that's what I tell my patients, like if they've cited a good, even a citation, then that means like the research is is supporting it. Now, whether it's correctly, like we can go down that rabbit hole, right? But right now, at least they have some basis of where they're getting their information from, and it's evidence-based. So I think that's a start, just looking to see if someone just pulling it out of there, or they woke up this morning and decided to say, crunches are bad for you or whatever. But or is there something that studied it and has some meat to it?
Yeah, no, the ones that are coming out, and I'm on like year 2.5 of Mythbuster Monday. Like the one I did last week was like, somebody's going around. The new one is, oh, mom jeans are bad for you. I'm like, Jesus, mother of God, like, really, are we doing this?
I actually saw that, and I meant to read it because I hate high-waisted jeans, and I was like, okay, what is this saying?
No, it's basically like, and I tried to talk with the person that was kind of perpetuating it a little bit. And I think if you're wearing like Kardashian corset style stuff, I can see that would be a thing. But saying that every single person that wears high-waisted jeans is risking increased prolapse or leakage symptoms, I think that's a little broad. And that person was also not open to considering that their words might be fear-mongering too. So, hey.
Right. I mean, and that's the biggest thing, right? Like we have so much fear-mongering on the internet, and it's my biggest recommendation for anybody listening is, if someone's saying you don't do something, then they definitely look at their resource and
that's a great recommendation.
Who else is saying that? Because as physical therapists, as movement experts, we're all trying to help people move and be healthy and active. And if something's saying don't do it, just look and see kind of why are they saying that.
Get your spidey sense up for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And one last thing to circle back on the comment earlier, you mentioned, not everybody has access to pelvic floor PT. And so I'm sure you see these things that are popped out every couple of years. There was the common, not normal. And now it's, everyone should see a pelvic floor PT. We should all be like France. Well, that's a whole nother conversation. But I think also inclusivity is really important here, that, and someone brought this up to me a year or two ago. They're like, well, what if someone doesn't actually have access, or they did go and they're not better? What does that mean for them? And that was a really interesting approach for me. And again, like, if you don't have access to a pelvic floor PT, that's still okay. But that's where, the free resources, the vetted social media posts, like access to a postpartum coach or trainer, like, we don't have to be the be all end all. And I think, with my background in our national association, I think that was, I couldn't really say that at the time, but now I'm like, no, if you don't see one of us, that doesn't mean you're doomed for life.
Right.
So,
right.
But I
would encourage that patient or that client to send us an email. Like if someone really said, like, I need help, I don't have the resources. I mean, my heart, I would say, okay, let's get on a phone call and let's talk through it.
Telehealth.
A FaceTime, but I don't want you to go without any access.
Exactly.
Finding something that's affordable in your price range, or, giving you resources, but let's try to get to those moms no matter what, for equity. Yeah.
The number of DMs I answer each week, just like talking people off a cliff where they're like, am I doomed? I'm like, nope, you're here, go to this hashtag. I've got a lot of stuff there, just to give information so people aren't scared.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, well, thank you for your work.
Yeah. Hey, we're trying here. But again, like it's one of those things that I think once someone reframed that for me, I was like, wow, we need to just get so much education out there that people have an option no matter where they are. And again, I love that telehealth came up through. I'm sad that it came through COVID, but like at least we have more options, and more clinicians are feeling comfortable offering that. So
I've been actually really impressed with what all we can do on telehealth. I mean, our sports resident is
I love it. It makes you
exactly
rely on this.
I like watch him do, he's seen a lot of postpartum moms virtually, and I'm just like in awe of all the things we can do. I mean, he was teaching someone to do a snag self-mobilization. because she's a triathlete and she had swimming related pain when she turned to the side. And I was like, I was like in awe of like the wonders of what we can do with telehealth. So
I did some very creative instruction in camera and lighting to understand level of prolapse and things like that too. I'm like, I'm not recording it, I promise. Gets the
more
job
power to you, Carrie.
It was half my caseload up until this last June, and we're still using it now. I mean, obviously, if the kids are on like quarantine or things like that with COVID, like if I have a mom that their kids, are have to stay home and they can't go to daycare, we just flip it to telehealth. They don't feel like they have to put themselves second, because let's just be honest, we've had to for a long time.
Absolutely.
All right. So you, as a mom, what's your biggest personal lesson kind of going through this, having understood things as a mom, now kind of understanding this as a researcher? Like what's been the lesson that you've taken out of this, that if you could put your mom brain into some other mom's head at the beginning of their journey, what is it?
Yeah. So, I grew up an athlete. I was a college swimmer, and I think what this has taught me is to be kinder with myself. And just like we talked about, today may not be the day to do a heavy 2-a-day workout or whatever. Today might be a day to just sip some tea, take a walk, smell the roses, all of that, and be kind, because, it's like, oh, I had this workout planned and I'm not getting to it. It's just been a busy day or anything. Like, I think just that kindness to myself, and we always put ourselves second, and and putting myself first in a way that's kind to me, not like trying to sneak in a workout and then have like no dinner ready and all of that. So I think like just being kind to myself to manage everything and being realistic has been one of the biggest lessons. And I think it's helped my both physical and mental health, because I'm not, freaking out about everything.
No, I totally agree. When you've got the list that's, this long, and you're like, okay, realistically, we're only going to do that. Why am I writing this stupid list? No, I
also do a lot of time blocking. It goes on the calendar, and that helps shrink my list, because there's only so much you can fit on the calendar.
Exactly. Well, again, when you're friends with James Clear, like, come on.
Yeah, his head's getting bigger and bigger as our conversation.
I'm sure, like, we'll take a whole episode on that. That's so awesome. Anything else you wanted to share with people before we hop off? You can find Shefali on Instagram here. Anything else you want to share with us?
No, just thanks for having me. And if you hear back from anybody and they want more of anything, we'll be happy to hop back on. So
thank you so much for all the research that you're doing. And again, I think it's such exciting time for us to be in this field, to be a mom that wants to get back, because there's so much more than what we had, 8-10 years ago. So
yeah, and I think there's an exciting issue coming out in January. The Journal of Women's Health PT did a 4th trimester.
That's right.
So I've had a couple of things accepted to that, and so look out for it, because there's going to be some nice information coming out through that.
Awesome. I will put that in the notes. Awesome. Thanks so much for hopping on, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks.